Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to this League of Women Voters Town Hall presentation. Today's Town Hall will focus on our new voting rights under Proposal 2 of 2022. We are the Calhoun County unit of the League of Women Voters. Sue Roscoe is our president, and I'm Lori Klein-Clausen, Voter Services Chairperson, and today's speaker. Proposal 2 of 2022, also known as Prop 2, was a proposal on the November 2022 general election ballot to amend the Michigan State Constitution to make our elections even more accessible and secure. Prop 2 passed with over 60% of the vote. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, we now have many new and improved voting rights. These include the right to vote early in every statewide and federal election, the right to sign up to become a permanent by mail voter, and the right to an enhanced tracking system for absentee ballots and applications, the right to prepaid postage on absentee ballots, just to name a few. The goal of today's town hall is to provide you with the information you need to understand your new rights, how you can exercise them, and what, if anything, you can do to make sure that your new rights are implemented successfully. Thanks to Prop 2, the Michigan Constitution now guarantees every voter the fundamental right to vote. What does this right protect? The fundamental right to vote includes, but is not limited to, the right, once registered, to vote a secret ballot in all elections. What does this right prohibit? The right also prohibits any person or legal entity, for example, a business or state agency, from interfering with or unreasonably burdening the fundamental right to vote, whether by act of law, harassment, threats, or intimidation. How can I enforce this right? Any Michigander can bring a lawsuit to enforce this right if it is violated. The next right we will discuss involves the certification of election results. The Board of State Canvassers is responsible for certifying that the results of every statewide and federal election are accurate. Prop 2 clarifies that the duty of county and state canvassers is ministerial, clerical, and non-discretionary. They must certify the election results based solely on the votes cast by eligible voters in that election. The certified results are final and subject only to a recount or court order. If the results for any office show a tie between two or more candidates, the canvassers have a duty to resolve the tie based on a predetermined set of rules. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, Michiganders now have the right to engage in true early voting. That is, to cast their ballot in person before the election, just like they would on election day. A question you may ask, I can already vote early in person at my clerk's office. How is this different? The answer is that before the passage of Prop 2, the only way to vote in person before election day was by absentee ballot at your city or township clerk's office. Now voters can vote early at a designated early voting site by completing a regular ballot and inserting that ballot directly into the tabulator. When will early voting occur? Every city and township must offer early voting in every statewide and federal election. Although cities and townships are not required to offer early voting in non-statewide or non-federal elections, they may choose to do so. When will early voting occur? Early voting sites must be open for 9 consecutive days, beginning on the second Saturday before the election and ending on the Sunday before the election. During this 9-day period, early voting sites must be open for 8 hours each day. The 8 hours can be offered consecutively or any time of the day or non-consecutively. Can communities offer early voting when it's not required? Yes, cities and townships have the flexibility to offer early voting in non-statewide and non-federal elections for more than 9 days or for more than 8 hours a day during the constitutionally required 9-day period. The earliest that a city or township can start offering early voting is 29 days before the election. Where will early voting occur? Early voting will take place at an early voting site. Early voting sites are subject to most of the same requirements as election day polling places. For example, all polling places must be accessible, must allow members of the public to observe, and must maintain all voted ballots in sealed containers at the end of the day. However, they may serve voters from more than one city or township and more voters than an election day polling location. Question you may ask is, how will I know where my early voting site is located? You can find the location of your early voting site on Michigan's Voter Information Center at mi.gov/vote at least 60 days before the election. You can also contact your city or township clerk or the Nonpartisan Election Protection Hotline, 866-OUR-VOTE. In Calhoun County, for example, there will be 2 early voting sites. One in Battle Creek at the Cool Center. This early voting site will host the residents of the city of Battle Creek, Springfield, Bedford, and Penfield Charter Townships. The second early voting site will be in Marshall at the County Building, and it will host all other residents. Can communities work together to offer early voting? Absolutely. Cities and townships will have the option to offer early voting either on their own as a single municipality with other cities and townships within their county or within the county. We all recognize that early voting is a significant undertaking for city and township clerks. It will require more time, money, and resources. To reduce this burden, we strongly encourage city and township clerks to work together with other municipalities or with their county to offer early voting. Early voting is a great opportunity for Michiganders to vote at a time that is convenient for their busy schedules. It also allows voters to know right then and there that their vote has been counted. To make sure that cities and townships continue to establish and staff convenient early voting sites and that the legislature continues to fund early voting, we need to take advantage of this right. Be sure to vote early, encourage your friends and neighbors to vote early, and spread the word about the opportunity to vote early in your community and on social media. Questions you may ask: how will early voting work if my city and township works together with other municipalities or within the county to offer early voting? If your city or township clerk chooses to work together with other municipalities or within the county to offer early voting, your city or township clerk will collaborate with the other clerks to plan, staff, fund, and administer early voting. Early voting sites will be set up in locations that are accessible to the residents of all municipalities within the agreement. This means that your early voting site may be located outside of your city or township. What will prevent voters from voting both early in person and by absentee ballot? The Secretary of State's office is developing technology for early voting poll books to be used at early voting sites, which will include voting history. The early voting poll book is required to be updated each day to reflect absentee ballots received and the ballots cast at early voting sites since the last update. Another way that Prop 2 made voting more convenient for Michiganders is by providing the right to sign up to receive an absentee ballot rather than just an application before each election. Didn't I already sign up to receive a ballot before each election? No. Previously, voters could sign up to receive an absentee ballot application before each election. They would still need to complete and submit the application each time to receive an absentee ballot. Now voters have the right to submit a single application to receive an absentee ballot before each election, which eliminates the need to submit an absentee ballot application every time. How do I sign up? For now, to sign up for the permanent mail ballot list, voters can check the box on their regular absentee ballot application stating that they'd like to receive a ballot before each election. We understand that the Bureau of Elections is working on additional ways that voters can sign up for the permanent mail ballot list. We'll provide additional information as soon as we have it. What happens if I move? If you sign up to join the permanent mail ballot list and then you move within the state of Michigan, you will remain on the list as long as you update your voter registration address. If you move outside of Michigan and surrender your Michigan driver's license, you will be removed from the list since you will no longer be eligible to vote in the state. Some questions you may have. Do I have to update my voter registration address if I move within the same city or township? Yes. If you move within the same city or township, you must update your voter registration address to ensure your ballot is sent to the correct address. Another question, how do I update my registration address? If it's prior to the 14th day before an election, you can update your voter registration address by completing a new voter registration application in person at your SOS branch office, your city, township, or county clerk's office, or any state agency that provides public assistance or services to people with disabilities, or by mailing a completed voter registration application postmarked by the 15th day before the election or online. Beginning on the 14th day before an election, you must update your registration at your city or township clerk's office with proof of residency. More information is available at michiganvoting.org. What if I need my ballot sent somewhere other than my home address? If you will be away from your home during election season, for example, you're on vacation or you're attending school, you can have your ballot sent to a different address. How do I do this? On the absentee ballot application, there's a section for an alternate mailing address that you can complete. Once I sign up, will I always be on the list? You will remain on the list unless one of 5 things occurs. You submit a signed request to your city or township clerk to be removed from the list. You move outside of Michigan. You move within Michigan without updating your voter registration address. You are no longer eligible to vote, for example, if you're serving a sentence in jail or prison. or you do not vote for 6 consecutive years. A question you may ask: what happens if someone who is on the list passes away? Will they be removed? Yes, the voter will be removed from the list because they would no longer be eligible to vote. When someone dies, their death record information is sent to the Social Security Administration and added to the Master Death Index. Michigan Department of State receives this information from the Social Security Administration. On a weekly basis, the Bureau of Election cancels the voter registration of all registered voters who appear on the Master Death Index report. This also removes them from the permanent absentee voter list. Michigan Department of State also receives information from the Electronic Registration Information Center about Michigan voters who have passed away. Is this list secure? Yes, in order to join the list, clerks must confirm the voter's identity by comparing the voter's signature on their application to the voter's signature in their voter file. If you regularly vote from home, be sure to sign up for the permanent mail ballot list the next time you request an absentee ballot. Also, please encourage members of your community to sign up for the list by spreading the word that it is a convenient, safe, and secure method of voting. Question: some people have heard concerns that this list makes it easier for voters to commit fraud if ballots are sent to old addresses or to voters on the list who are no longer eligible or don't intend to vote in that election. Is this true? No. First of all, as explained before, voters will be removed from the list when they move in state without updating their address or when they move out of state. This helps ensure that ballots will not be sent to old addresses. And even if a ballot were sent to an old address, there are security measures built into the system to verify the identity of the person returning every ballot. An absentee ballot will not be counted unless the signature on the ballot envelope matches the signature for the voter in the voter file. Next up is voter ID. Michigan has had the same voter ID law since 1996. Prop 2 essentially wrote this existing voter ID law into the Constitution, ensuring that all eligible voters could cast a ballot regardless of whether they had a certain type of photo ID. Do I need a photo ID to vote? No, you do not need a photo ID to vote in Michigan. However, you will always be asked to provide a photo ID when you arrive to vote, either at your clerk's office by absentee ballot, at an early voting site, or at your polling location on election day. If you have an acceptable photo ID with you, you must show it when asked. What if I don't have an ID? If you do not have an acceptable photo ID or do not have an acceptable photo ID with you at the time you arrive to vote, you can sign a simple form called the Affidavit of Voter Not in Possession of Picture Identification and then vote a regular ballot. Acceptable photo IDs include an expired or current Michigan driver's license or state ID. This is the only type of ID that may be expired. All others must be current. A driver's license or ID from another state is also acceptable. A U.S. passport or federal government issued ID, a local government issued ID, a military photo ID, a tribal photo ID, or a student photo ID issued by an educational institution. There are many reasons a voter may be without an acceptable photo ID when they go to vote. Maybe they cannot afford it, they do not have access to transportation to get an ID, or they left their ID at home, or they simply lost it. These voters should not be deterred from exercising their fundamental right to vote. The passage of Prop 2 has also made several improvements to the absentee voting experience as well. Do I still have to provide postage for my absentee ballot and application? The first change concerns postage for absentee ballots and applications. It's very straightforward. The state must now provide funding for return postage on all absentee ballot applications and ballots. No more searching for and paying for stamps. Will I be notified of any issues with my absentee ballot or application? Voters now also have the right to be notified by their clerk of any issues with their absentee ballot application or ballot, such as forgetting to sign the outside of the ballot envelope and instructions on how to fix those issues. If you are notified of an issue with your ballot or application, you must be given an equitable opportunity to correct it. A uniform statewide process for notifying voters of these issues will not be in place until spring of 2024. In the meantime, to avoid a common error, be sure to remind your neighbors, friends, and family to sign their absentee ballot envelope with their official signature. Question: what is an official signature? Your official signature is the signature you used on your voter registration application. Can I track the status of my absentee ballot and application online? Relatedly, voters now have the right to a new and improved state-funded online ballot tracking system. What has changed? Thanks to Prop 2, voters will now be able to track their absentee ballots and absentee ballot applications online more closely. For example, voters will be able to see details about any issues with their application or ballot and will learn how to and by when they must fix them. In addition, voters will have the option to sign up to receive all of this information through text messages or emails. When can I use the enhanced tracking system, and how do I sign up to receive notifications? The Bureau of Elections is working on creating this enhanced tracking system, and we anticipate that voters will be able to use it and to sign up for notifications later this year. In the meantime, voters can track some information about their absentee ballot application and ballot online at Michigan's Voter Information Center, mi.gov/vote. Once the enhanced tracking system is ready, we encourage everyone to use it and to sign up for notifications. Please spread the word in your community about this system and encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to sign up for notifications as well. What is a drop box? Thanks to Prop 2, voters now have the right to at least one secure ballot drop box in their city or township. A ballot drop box is a secure, locked structure that voters may use to return completed absentee ballot applications and voted absentee ballots. Doesn't my community already have a drop box? Many communities do already have one or more drop boxes, but all communities must ensure that they're complying with a constitutional amendment by having at least one ballot drop box for every 15,000 registered voters. Communities that already have the constitutionally required number of drop boxes are all set, but they can choose to provide more. Where will the drop boxes be located? Clerks must distribute drop boxes equitably throughout the city or township. This means clerks should place drop boxes in areas that are convenient and accessible to voters, including voters with disabilities, such as downtown areas or public spaces. You will be able to find the location of the drop boxes in your community at Michigan's Voter Information Center, mi.gov/vote. Can I use any drop box in the state? You cannot use any drop box in the state. You may use only the drop boxes that are located in the city or township where you reside. For example, a voter who is registered in the city of Albion may use any drop box in the city of Albion, but may not use a drop box in neighboring Marshall. When can I use a drop box? Drop boxes must be accessible 24/7 during the 40 days prior to an election up to 8 p.m. on election day. Are drop boxes secure? Yes, they must be securely locked, bolted down, and designed to prevent the removal of absentee ballots and applications, except by authorized election officials. Currently, many, but not all, drop boxes are also subject to video surveillance. But starting in January of 2026, all drop boxes will be subject to video surveillance. Be sure to uplift the safety and convenience of drop boxes in your community and on social media. When must my absentee ballot be received by my city or township clerk? The last absentee voting improvement concerns military and overseas voters. Before the passage of Prop 2, absentee ballots from all voters had to be received by the voter's city or township clerk by 8 p.m. on election day to count. Now, however, absentee ballots from all military and overseas voters are considered timely if postmarked by election day and received by the city or township clerk within 6 days of the election. Be sure your friends, family, and neighbors know which deadline applies to them and remind them to return their absentee ballot by the correct deadline. Question is, who counts as military and overseas voters? Military and overseas includes members of a uniformed service on active duty and their dependents, members of the Merchant Marine or their dependents, National Guardsmen activated on state orders, or a civilian living overseas. More information, including the definition and rights of military and overseas voters, is available at mi.gov/vote under the Military and Overseas tab. Prop 2 also increased the security of our elections by strengthening the audit process. What is an election audit? An election audit is a review of documents, ballots, and procedures used before, during, and after an election. Why are audits important? Election audits are important because they ensure the accuracy and integrity of our elections by confirming that election officials follow the proper procedures before, during, and after election day, that election equipment is functioning properly and accurately counting our ballots, and that the correct winner was certified. Who conducts audits and when? Statewide election audits are conducted by the Secretary of State, county clerks, and their staff members. These officials must conduct audits after every statewide election. Question: how do I know when and where an audit will be conducted in my community? The Secretary of State will post this information on their website, michigan.gov/SOS/elections, shortly after the end of the election. Are election audits partisan? No, they are not. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, the Michigan Constitution now states that no officer or member of the governing body of a national, state, or local political party, and no political party precinct delegate shall have any role in the direction, supervision, or conduct of an election audit. Are they secure? Yes, public officials must maintain the security and custody of all ballots and election materials during an audit. Audits are also transparent. They must be conducted in public based on predetermined public criteria, and all funding must be publicly disclosed. We encourage everyone to observe the post-election audit to learn more about election administration and increase their confidence in the electoral process. Be sure to observe an audit, encourage others to observe, and inform your fellow community members of the benefits of conducting post-election audits. Charitable contributions. Another way that Prop 2 improved election administration is by requiring the public disclosure of charitable contributions. How are elections funded? County, city, and township clerks can fund elections in their communities through state funding, federal funding, and publicly disclosed charitable contributions. Charitable contributions include non-monetary contributions, such as the use of buildings and resources. For example, the use of a church for holding an election. Do municipalities have to accept charitable contributions? Although clerks have the option to fund elections through publicly disclosed charitable contributions, they are not required to do so. If clerks choose to accept these donations, Prop 2 now requires that they publicly disclose them. Can municipalities accept any charitable contribution? No. Clerks do not have the discretion to accept any charitable contribution. They are prohibited from accepting donations from foreign funds or sources. Thank you for joining us and listening to us today to hear about the important enhancements brought to us by the 2022 passage of Proposal 2. This is our contact information. You may wish to make a note of this. If you have questions, you can submit them to our email address or our Facebook, and we would get back with you.